Hello and welcome to Layback with Betfair. Back for another week ahead of a huge Group 1 weekend of racing in Brisbane as we look at the Kingsford Smith Cup and the Queensland Derby as well. My name's Nick Foote. Joining me as always is the Baron of Betfair himself, Tom Haylock, the Prince of Pakenham, Reece Goodwin. Reece, welcome back after a little week off, mate.
Yeah, thanks, mate. I hadn't missed too many. I was a bit spewing to miss last week. I obviously had some races, which didn't eventuate to be much good for me either, so I probably should have been here. But yeah, great to be back. Can't wait to get into it.
Well, you didn't miss a lot last week, to be honest, in terms of tipping. We didn't go that great last week. It wasn't our proudest moment, I wouldn't say. Tom, how are you, mate?
I'm good. Yeah, I was better before that little deal.
Reminder.
Welcome back. Good to have you.
Thanks, mate.
I'm good, Doctor.
we celebrate the wins. It's important to acknowledge the losses in this game as well.
Is he retired yet?
Oh, well.
You can forgive one bad one.
I was just asking. That was a genuine question.
Oh, right, okay.
I thought you were trying to retire Zaki on Layback.
I retired Animo, so
yeah,
make it two good horses from two.
Well, let's head to the lay bin, boys, because this is where we retire things, not necessarily racehorses, just anything we want to take aim at. Tommy, we'll start with you, mate. What have you got in the lay bin for us this week?
Two things. One that's not on the run sheet, wind. Now, I'm not talking about the internal wind. I'm not talking about a gust of wind, the Oaks winner. I'm talking about wind. It is the worst type of weather ever. Wind, I don't care if it's 2 degrees, just don't be windy. You can't do anything when it's windy.
We rarely agree, and I'm fully in your corner on that.
You can't play golf.
You can rain all day.
Yeah, just don't be windy.
Just don't be windy.
I agree. So that's my first lay, and it's very windy outside. But I got on a plane to Perth on Friday, sat down, and I said a couple of weeks ago, Reece, that aeroplanes and airports were walking
security, wasn't it? Security mainly.
Just airports in general in the lay bin. But I sat down on my plane, opened my pocket to put my wallet down in the tissue in there.
Ooh.
Dirty tissue in the pocket.
You would want a free flight. Did you get up to business class or something?
I didn't.
Well, you'd probably be there, were you?
I didn't even raise it. I had the feet stretched. No.
He would have taken it out with his teeth, I reckon. That's fair.
Yeah, so that's the lay bin. They had to sit there and I avoided the pocket at all costs. Didn't touch the menu, didn't touch the whatever the instructions are.
Bit of hand sanny.
Yep, straight up. Well, I didn't have any on me, so...
As soon as you got off.
Yeah, no good. Reece, you've actually got something in the run sheet for once.
In the run sheet.
But had a couple of weeks off to think about this, so surely I could come up with something. And this probably also leads into now 2 lay bins from Tommy Haylock. This is pointed at you, my lay bin.
Excuse me?
These number of best bets. I want a best bet, not 3 of them each week. I want you to zone in on one for me so that I can go in with confidence on just the one horse.
It's a terrific call.
When he first started, when you go back to our first couple of episodes,
well,
it was just
none today, so
that also shows you how well you're going. The first episode, there was just one bet, one lay, and now we're getting up to like 3 best bets and 3 lays. I don't mind a Tommy 2 playing the same race, but this... And now this morning you've got 2 lays. 2 lay bins. Can we just have one of those too?
Oh.
You're just filling up everything.
I'm a bit precious, mate.
So we get to the end of the episode and we've got to also make this massive segment for you to do your best bets.
He has come in firing from the week off.
A week off, yeah. I'm fresh and well. I've got a bit of bounce about me.
Would you rather 3 winners than 1?
Well, this is the problem. They don't log. I think you're a terrific form analyst and tipster, and I always follow you in Sydney.
Don't
I always follow you in Sydney, but I want you to have 1 for me in Sydney, not 3. I want to have my full wager on 1.
Okay.
Bet responsibly, of course, but I want to have just 1.
Noted. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Thanks.
I'm going to go.
Yeah. Well, we're getting closer here at Layback because that's about as honest as the feedback can get. My lay bin this week is stretch hummers. Now,
good one.
This is so unless you're
That's how Reece gets around.
Unless you're heading to your Year 12 leavers dinner,
even then
you shouldn't be in one. So Brunton Avenue Saturday night post the footy, pulling out of the car park, and 2 stretch hummers waiting, and a group of, I'm going to say 15 to 20 blokes getting in 2. One's a hot pink stretch hummer, the other's just your standard black, just dividing the group,
go to that
hopping
party.
into 2 stretch
That's
hummers.
a party I don't want to be at.
What are you doing?
That's too many people in one hummer.
Yeah.
Too many guys. Too.
Yeah, well, that full stop.
Grow up.
Where's the diversity?
Yeah, grow up. That's my call there with the stretch
I don't think I've
hummers,
ever been in one. Have you boys actually been in one? I don't think I've ever been in a stretch hummer.
No.
Not a stretch, no. I got picked up, my first trip overseas actually, I got picked up in a limousine.
I've never been overseas.
And they drove me
limousine.
Yeah, it was very nice though.
Yeah,
It was a nice experience.
I'm probably on the fence with limos, but stretch
More the
Hummers.
Hummer, isn't it?
Yeah,
Stretch,
Hummer
yeah.
part, I guess,
No
fair
good.
enough.
Anyway, we could talk about stretch Hummers and limousines all day, but we do have...
I don't know if we could.
No, we probably couldn't. We do have a great card of racing at Eagle Farm this week. We're going to preview the bulk of that card, Tommy. And in terms of weather and track conditions up there at Eagle Farm, rails in the true. It was currently a soft 5, but probably should race a good 4, yeah?
It should. I looked at the weather forecast and I almost thought about jumping on a plane. It was that good. It was 25 degrees and sunny the whole week.
Hopefully no tissues.
No tissues on the plane. No, gosh. So track fair, Eagle Farm, they do tend to get out late and every horse gets their opportunity, but sometimes late in the day they can work up the fence. So
I've never been able to work out Eagle Farm. Like, it's a little
I don't
bit...
think anyone has.
Yeah.
Even Blair Gibson, who's an astute judge up there, hates it.
Yeah.
And they've got better, so they've grown some different turf of late, and it's actually holding the water a bit better, which
Yeah,
has
so
made
this
it race
is the
better.
track that they would get rain. It just runs straight through, wouldn't it?
Correct.
It'd
I
basically
think
take
they've gone
no...
to Kikuyu now.
Nice.
Aesthetics
Yeah.
alone, it should be one of the fairest racetracks
Yes, yeah,
in
it's nice
Australia,
track.
but it just gets a bit laney, doesn't it, in terms of where the winners come from in terms of that
You
pattern.
see
But
horses beaten a huge distances as well.
I think there was
Right.
some trouble with kickback at some stage too, wasn't it? Because it
Yeah,
was
it's had a lot,
sand-based.
yeah.
There was a bit going on
Yep.
coming back.
Well, with all that said, we're still going to hopefully find some winners, guys, and we're going to kick things off in race number 4, which is the Group 3 Lord Mayor's Cup. Set weights and penalties, 1,800 metres. Big Boy Roy won the race last year, reloaded in 2021. You've got Big Boy Roy returning again this year, and Wild Chap, they'll likely be the key speed influences from down low. Without a Fight will likely push forward from the wide draw. Seed of Power has also drawn Doomben, and Ryan Maloney will probably be keen to go forward from out there. Is that how you're sort of assessing the map, Tommy?
Yeah, I don't know what they do without a fight. You've nailed the others. Just Folk, Seat of Power, drawn wide, can roll forward as well. Moderate tempo, really. There's not a huge amount of pressure, but yeah, I just happy to be with who I think is the best horse in the race, or will be the best horse in the race, and that's Without a Fight. He's one of the most interesting runners in the country. He started $12 in the Melbourne Cup, if you don't mind, boys. He's yet to win below 2,000 metres, which is a concern, but he's never run below 2,000 metres. His debut was over 2012, I think it was. Hasn't been seen at this trip. We see the Australian trainers inject some speed into these internationals. I didn't mind his trial. He warmed up late. I think he's a class horse in the race. I am heavily in the internationals when they get over these kind of distances, probably further, but first up, I think he'll be very hard to beat with any luck from that barrier, and I'm happy to be each way number 3 Without a Fight.
Yeah, I'm with Tommy there. I didn't even realise you were with him, but I loved the trial. I thought it was great, you know, to be making ground late in a trial. He was hurdling through the line. As you said, he hasn't won at a trip like this before, but he hasn't raced at a trip like this, and again, exactly what you hit the nail on the head. It's hit the nail on the head with is we can inject speed in these horses. I think just knowing the stable and the way they trialled him, I'd say they'll probably elect to be conservative from the
That's
gate.
what I
Which,
was thinking
look, it
first
might
up.
be a concern, but I'm thinking if there's a lot of conservative approaches into this race, at some stage someone's going to get on their bike and maybe put some pressure on 1,000 half mile out, where he can then probably, if the pressure's put on early and it actually is a staying test late, he might be able to get over the top of him. I love the booking of Zara.
That shows intent as well.
Yeah,
Zara on.
100%. So I'd just be really surprised, first run in Australia, they're bustling forward from that gate. I think they'd, as much as he's probably there to win, they'd just love to see him thundering through the line. And I think at that price, he's probably the clear pick, as in he's the most intriguing horse, and if he's somewhere near his best, he can probably beat this lot.
He could just win this on class.
Yeah, 100%.
Boys, I feel a bit dirty here because I'm going to be backing Luncy's. Now, not one of mine.
He hasn't won since last time Reece had a lay bin.
I know. I know. And I spoke to Reece prior to the show because you were 20 minutes late. We're talking about
At least.
this.
At least.
And I actually...
really am gonna go.
Luncy's has never been one of mine, so I don't feel like I'm diving in or chasing here. This is just an isolated bet on what was put forward first up. We're absolutely savaged the line in the Scone Cup over 1,600. You mentioned has only won one race since being in Australia, which is obviously a concern, but minor placings to Vow and Declare and Solcombe in the spring read pretty well for this 1,800 metre assignment second up. So I think Luncy's is a bet. I'm going to be with Luncy's in the Group 3 Lord Mayor's Cup, fellas. Let's head to race 5 now, which is the Group 3 Fred Best Classic, 43-year-olds over 1,400 metres. Valana won the race last year, Apache Chase in 2021, and Dawn Passage prior to that. A fair bit of speed engaged here for the 3-year-olds, Tommy. We're likely to see probably a pretty fast 1400. Atmosphere, Sailor's Secret, End Assembly and Portray all be somewhere up on the speed. And the exciting local for Tony and Madison Sears, which is Yellow Brick. I wouldn't mind getting your thoughts on that galloper with Ben Thompson on board. They're going to be looking for some cover as well. How are you seeing this?
Yeah, so you've got three main chances dictated by the market. Hawaii 5-0, Zoo Tiger, Yellow Brick. Now, boys, would you rather back a horse that's won 6 from 8 or a horse that's won 1 from 9 and 1 from 10?
Trick question.
Well, winners win. And Yellow Brick, he's obviously won 6 from 8. He ticks the Eagle Farm box, which the others haven't. That's a huge thing I've gone looking for, and I do when I have a bet at Eagle Farm, because it is kind of a horses for horses track. 6 from 8, he drawn perfectly, he gets the right run. It's a great race. I can make a case for Zoo Tiger and Hawaii 5-0. Obviously, Hawaii 5-0 was fantastic last start. Nash stays on him. His last 400 metres there was the third fastest of the day. He was pretty soft on the line, Hawaii 5-0. It's the performance we thought he'd always shown, or he always had. But I'm leaning to Yellow Brick. I think, do I want to dive out the price? Probably not, but he's about the right mark.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm piling on too, Yellow Brick, for all those reasons you've outlined there. He's third line of the market in the Stradbroke, so he's obviously, showing that he's going to be going close and something like that. So obviously, I think it's bad luck that probably gets him beat here. If he just gets a clear run on them, I think he's too good for them. Great to see Tony Sears. Obviously, he's teamed up with his daughter now, but I know Tony a little bit from when I just had a bit of time at Toowoomba. Terrific bloke, good trainer, underrated. Really good to see him have a horse of this calibre. He deserves a good horse, and I'd love to see him win on the weekend and go on and be really competitive in a Stradbroke. So piling in there.
Lady Laguna's kind of franked that form as well for his last run. So.
Yep.
I'm going a little bit of a different tack in this race, something that I think represents some excellent value, and that's 7 Veals for Kieran Maher and David Eustace. So I'm not sure if I'm missing something here, but this looks a really good special at this price, because recently switched from Newnham to the Maher Eustace yard. First up for the stable, ran second in the Redelva, over 1,100 metres after blowing the start. Second fastest last 200 of the meeting. Second up ran Royal Merchant to under a length in the Group 2 Tobin Bronze, who has since franked that form by winning a Group 1. Will appreciate the big deck of Eagle Farm, a step up in distance. You're looking at a horse over $20, $5 on Betfair, you'll get the play. So I think it's an excellent each way bet, 7 Veals. So I'm getting involved there, boys.
You've made a good case. I mean, the barrier's a little tricky.
I was just about to say, where do you think with Tim Clark now up and trip, they might look to roll forward, or
I
wouldn't want to see that.
I was looking more like the barrier's probably offset by the pattern. Like, he hasn't got away well at both of these starts at Morville. So I think like it will be a horse running on and will appreciate the rise in distance. I think he's had only one go at the actual distance and didn't feature in the money. So I think they'll want to ride pretty conservatively with one last big shot at them.
Yeah, no, fair point. If it was a Group 1, you could probably declare it the way Maher and Eustace are going in their Group 1s. But
you'd be mad to take them on, wouldn't you? Let's head to race 6 now, fellas. The Group 2 size produce stakes for the 2-year-olds. She's a belter. Won the race last year, and Tiger of Malay in 2021. Now, tough map here. Unbeaten filly for Waterhouse bot team Zia. Is that the pronunciation? Yep, Zia. Looks likely to push across from 11. There's a few in the speed influence here that are in the emergencies at the moment too, like Azula from 10, and a few of these out to 1,400 metres for the first time as well. So it's hard to know how aggressively they'll be ridden, but how are you assessing the map from the map point of view and the race, Tommy?
Yeah, the race. I had a look at the race, and there's no horses that I've really been following closely. I didn't have a starting point to do the form. There's no horses that I follow from trials or anything. I found it really messy. I don't want to touch the race at all. I could do this race for 5 hours and still not get close. So I gave it 10, 15 minutes, I'll be honest, and that did me. I had no idea which way and direction to lean and which horses I was keen to make a case for, so I let it go.
It's often good punting, that.
We'll just let it go.
Yeah, exactly. Shouldering arms.
Dead set, like, this would have to be the hardest 2-year-old. I think this is even harder to dissect than the Golden Slipper. Like, this would have to be the hardest 2-year-old race we've seen this season. There is so many form lines here, and you wouldn't fall over if anything won it, to be fair. So, honestly, Same with you, Tommy. I wouldn't have even given it that long. I didn't know where to start and where I was going to finish, so I actually just left it alone. It'd actually be just great to see who wins it, to be fair.
There's the punting lesson of the week. Sewn up, back to school. Don't be afraid to...
You can let one go.
Shoulder arms.
Let one go.
Well, stuff you blokes, because I know. Nah, there is one here, and I agree with everything you guys both said then around the difficulty of this race. There's one here at its third emergency currently, which I prefaced in the at the start there. Azula for Waterhouse Bot, Williams booked on board. So third emergency, she gets a run. She's a big shout at plus $30. Raced in restricted room on debut at Warwick Farm before getting out to 1400 metres, second up, where at Randwick did a bit of work from the wide draw, led all the way and ticked that box. So already ticked the box at 1400. You know the Waterhouse Bot runners love to set the tone up top. You know she's going to be rock hard fit, and at $31, you don't really have to have a lot on to find out if she gets a run. So that's how I'll be playing that race, just from a small each way basis. Hey, let's head to race 7, which is the Group 1 Queensland Derby for the 3-year-olds.
Derby?
Yeah.
What do they sell?
$5 for every time we've had this discussion on the show.
I reckon,
$4.
Yep.
I always switch, but it's Derby Eastern Seaboard, Derby Perth.
So they say Derby up there, or?
I think it's Eastern Seaboard.
Yeah, didn't you say Derby?
Yeah, I'll probably butcher it.
He's rattled himself now.
Yeah,
He's just rattled himself.
All right, so we've already lost early doors in this race. Pinarello won the race last year for the Kiwis from Barrier 17, if you don't mind. Kukaracha in 2021, and back in 2019 was Mr. Quickie, Johnny Allen, the Demolition Derby.
Another Group 1 for Johnny.
Yes. Now, speed-wise, Promises Kept led them up in the SA Derby, draws the paint here, so you'd think would likely push forward, be prominent. Sacred Mission and Special Sway, who's drawn 17, out deep with Nash on board. It'll be interesting to see what they do. But I guess the talk for a few weeks now has been all about Kovalika, hasn't it? So providing he handles the 7-day backup coming through the Doomben Cup, it's hard to see him losing. The market certainly agrees. Other runners in the market that I mentioned, Promises Kept. Special Sway, bit of a sticky draw. Tommy, over to you with for this one, mate.
Yeah, so it is pretty hard to go past Kovalika, but the Vows, Vatek, Tapadoo, the Guineas did so impressively, came out front the form last week on the backup now. Doomben Cup form got to be pretty good for a race like this. To run that well, giving Zaki 2.5 kilos, that's a big tick for mine. Drawn soft, settles closer, clearly the horse to beat for mine. If I'm betting in the race, I don't want to dive in at $1.65. If you get $1.90, I could potentially step in, but I've had a bet already in the race, and that's number 14, Fame. Looks a big price. Loved his last 2 runs. Think he could actually be the most progressive horse in the race. He's gone to another level. Every time he gets over further, he looks better and better. He broke his maiden over 18.50 and ran the second fastest final 200 metres of the meeting there. That's good going. Then he stepped up to 20.50 at Moe. Again, ran really good late sectionals, annihilated them, ran right through the line. His late splits were the 5th fastest final 200 metres over that distance. So he's a nice horse. He ran 11.92 at the end of 20.50. That's good going. Drawn well, big upside. I think he's the bet. I've taken 46s, I think he's in the 20s, so I can potentially lay off already. He might even be short on that now, so glad to see a bit of market support for him. My man, Jay Collette, will get the chocolates.
He shouldn't find too much trouble from 12, should he?
No, just stay off the fence.
I can't wait until he's fall back the fence from 12. In saying that, this horse, I feel like his 2 wins were good, don't get me wrong.
Yes.
But I felt like he ran those really good sectionals late because he was actually having no luck in the run a couple of times. Like you watch his Melly run, he was actually strung up in a lot of traffic. So
that helps.
I would actually like if he did find a few backsides, and he was the one that was saved up for one final run at the sort of the 300 rather than him be exposed and having to make a long surging sort of 600 metre run. So it'd be interesting to see how it unfolds.
You'd be hoping on a personal note that he goes well, because I see that he beat a horse called Langworthy by 3.5 lengths that Reece Goodwin Racing may have recently purchased this week.
Yesterday,
so you'll be sort of hoping that the Moe form's franked for you.
Yeah, it'd be great advertising when I can say I've paid $5,000 for a horse that's ran behind a possible Group 1 place getter or winner.
Can you just hold a share for me until about 3:25 p.m, please?
As long as you just have one best bet, I can do that for you.
Hey, can I just ask you quickly from a training perspective with Kovalika? So how do you see this, approaching off a 7-day backup coming out of a Group 1 Doomben Cup into the Queensland Derby? How do you see that at $1.65?
Yeah.
Is that a big risk?
Well, this is what I was going to mention before I got into my two that I don't mind at a price. I'm definitely not going to pile into this horse. I think he's no doubt the best horse in the race, and he should win, facts and figures, but you can't get out of the back of your mind that he's had obviously a little setback. I think it was a foot abscess, they said. Obviously got over that, no problems. He ran well last week, but it's obviously not the preparation that Chris had in mind.
No, true.
He can get it right, of course, no doubt about it. The horse could just be simply back to his best, and it might have been a blessing in disguise. But at a price like that, in a 2,400 metre Group 1, for a young horse, just sort of leave me out type of scenario there. But look, Chris Waller, he's probably going to be the man to get the job done. J-Max obviously going to get a good run from that gate. So you can't really take him on, but I wouldn't be piling in. The two that I want to make a case for, probably just at a place bet. Both of them I love. They both come out of the same race. There was less than a length between them. They both get back to Eagle Farm, and they both get back to 2,400. So we've got Tapple Doodle Doo and also Extra Revs. They're both drawn right alongside each other. I think they can be a little bit closer in the run. Tapple Doodle Doo did beat Major Bill back in Sydney 4 runs ago on the Tulloch.
Yes, that was a good track.
Yeah, exactly. That's right, correct. And then, so the main two things, they're back to Eagle Farm, bigger tracks, back to 2,400, which they're both probably pretty strong on the line around 2,000 at Doomben. So I think place betting those two, I'm really confident one of them can at least place. And I think you can probably be in front compared to taking the $1.70 for Kovalica off a little setback.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at the race. So I'm not really prepared to, pile in or back Kovalica, and I'm certainly not going to lay Kovalica either. So, because as you guys have mentioned, I think Kovalica's the best horse, likely wins. If there was something at value, or if it turned into some sort of staying affair, like Aberfeldy Boy is the one that I think may be over the odds. But 2,500 back to 2,400, I think he loves the trip, wants the staying affair. So I might shoulder arms there, Tommy and Reece, on the Group 1 Queensland
Just
Derby.
Quickly for Tommy, does there look a lot of speed, or does it look like it's going to be a moderately run 2,400?
So what to do with Promises Kept, who kicks up.
He creates a bit of pressure because they're going to have to force the spot on.
He didn't have a choice really last start because he sort of pushed forward from a wider draw.
Yeah, I don't think there will be a lot of these horses stepping up to this trip. I think Promises Kept can just work forward, and they will just sit off, and it'll be like we saw in the Sydney Derby, like Major Bill just
they left him
absolutely walked. I think they went 25 lengths slower than benchmark.
We need Geordie Childs in the race.
They went correct. They went absolutely ridiculously slow in a ATC Derby. So I think they'll go slowly again. Promises Are Kept will likely be the leader.
And that probably, if they do go slowly, might feature into your horse's chance. It's Fame. If it's sort of set to be a dash home 600, he showed that he's probably quicker than most of these over the last final 400.
Good. Very good. Let's head now to the second Group 1 on the card, which is the Kingsford Smith Cup, weight for age, 1,300 metres. It's race number 8. Apache Chase won the race last year. Vega won in 2021, and the Bostonian did the Doomben 10,000 Kingsford Smith double.
Matty Carr?
Tony Pike.
I reckon.
Yes, and mate, look, any race here with Eduardo engaged, you can probably expect a pretty solid clip, particularly when he's fresh. Now, Emerald Kingdom in 4, Rothfire in 7, Gentleman Roy from the car park, Barrier 18. Those guys hate going slow as well, Tommy, so there'll likely be some pressure up top. How do you see it unfolding?
Yeah, you've pretty much nailed the map. Eduardo, up to this trip, you'd think could just roll forward and let Gentleman Roy probably work across. There's a couple of others that have a bit of speed, but potentially over a bit further, like Palazzopan, and then you've got Rothfire, who looks the out-and-out map horse of the race, just looks to get a perfect run, no matter how you look at it. The Doomben 10,000 is probably the main lead-up now, since they've dropped or changed the structure around a little bit. But A Case of You and Valana come through that. A Case of You was fantastic there. I think you might be with him, Reece, but he ran some fantastic sectionals. His last 600 and 400 was the second fastest of the race, and that's A-grade form around Giga Kick. So looks right form, but obviously it ties in through the Victory Stakes as well, which Rothfire beat King of Sparta, Palali, and then A Case of You was beaten 1.5 or 1.8. Case of You was first up there, probably needed the run. It was probably the run of the race too, almost. I originally started the race watching the Victory Stakes and the Doomben 10,000, and I almost wanted to be against that form, but Like, there was 1.5 or half a length between the first 4 runners in the Victory Stakes.
Generally not good, is it?
No, so I kind of, and then a case of you obviously franked the form a little bit, but I kind of wanted to go away from that form line and look for other horses, but I couldn't really find anything.
Coming back to it.
Yeah, we've got Eduardo, fresh 1,300 metres is interesting. Trialled up okay. Think about it, he's won 7 from 8, but this is a big step up at the weight scale. I mean, first time at Eagle Farm for both Eduardo and Think About It. Then you've got Converge, who probably wants further. Very tough race. Rothfire's the bomb-proof horse. He's done it at Eagle Farm. He's the map horse. He'd be, if I was tipping in the race, I'd have Rothfire on top, but I'm not overly keen to bet.
Do we look anything into Nash sticking with Eduardo and not sticking with Rothfire, or was there something going on there?
I thought the same thing. I just assumed that Nash would have been locked into Eduardo.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, I thought that was an interesting one. Is like, I don't know. I like to stick up for the old horses. I'd love to see Eduardo somewhere back to his best. I love that Joe's waited. He obviously thought the race the other week wasn't the right race for him, and now he draws a bit better. And
is it almost as well? This is a big run in terms of Eduardo's
career, you'd imagine, for sure.
Yeah.
Well,
that's the third horse.
Now that you've made it, you can stop
back already. But like, what would Joe Pride want to see out of Eduardo? What's a pass mark in this type of race to gear up and then think about having another crack at an Everest?
He's well off at the weights. I mean, he's 116 handicapper at 59 kilos, so they've all got 59, except for a couple down the bottom there, the 2 mares. But a top 5 finish. I would like, if he...
And not falling in a complete hole.
If he folds up and runs 8th, 10th, they'll reconsider. He shouldn't have any excuses. There's not, like, he draws well, rolls forward, 2 trials, shortish break. He should run well.
So I'm backing a case of you. Been with him the whole time he's been here in Australia. I was happy just to watch him at Moonee Valley because he was going to get back there and wasn't going to be his track. In the Group 1, William Reid there. And then his 2 runs in Queensland have been really, really good. It's easy to say in hindsight now, I'm very confident he would have gone very close to knocking off Kick last start if he'd drawn a barrier. Both Queensland runs he's had to concede straight immediately. And
it's a big call.
I know it's a big call. Don't get me wrong, his sectionals are just as good though. I know his sectionals probably should be as good because he's conceded straight away, but I reckon if you swap barriers, case of you gets a couple of pairs ahead and for whatever reason Kick had to come back and concede, I think he's just a proper bet. If he gets even luck from a better draw this time, he's got no doubt Group 1 ability. I think his times show it. I think his runs have just been huge. I think Eagle Farm suits him because, as we spoke about with the track, it's a track that it's got a bit of give in it immediately. Like, it's just not a hard firming track, and that's why they've had a few complications with it because it hasn't been consolidating properly. Yeah. So I think he's a great bet. He just needs even luck. This is going to be the issue now. He's drawn a good barrier. He's going to be cluttered up in between runners, probably midfield, fast speed. There might be a couple coming back in his face, but look, we've got the right man on board, Zara, to get it done.
The aggressive hoop, the right guy. I like the case that he's made for a case of you.
I can't see him ever beating Kick though.
Yeah, that's a huge call.
Kick just does enough too. Like, case of you might...
He didn't do enough against I Wish I Win. Oh, I'm just saying, he doesn't just do enough.
He has. He's not. You've been blessed by Black Caviar, who's been undefeated. But horses do lose, Reece. Yeah. You have all shoot.
A lot of mine do. Unfortunately, a lot of mine do.
God, I Wish I Win and Kick a different gravy to the French sprinting form of a case of you.
No, but I see the case. I think a case of you's got to be a chance. What do you make of Michael Kent Jr.? I know Mick Price is involved, but Michael Kent Jr.'s offered a wedding.
He's got better things to do, mate.
He's clearly got busy in Fiji at the moment.
Can't people take leave?
No, not when there's a Group 1 French champion sprinter, best sprinter in the country.
This has to be the beauty of training partnerships, though.
Yes.
I often
How good is that?
Like, Reece mucks boxes twice a day. Like, mate, when are you finding your training partner?
Reece would work on his own wedding day.
Yeah, well, probably would, to be fair. If that ever comes, which is highly unlikely, not me. Well, if someone wants to tie the knot with me, they're bloody not going well. Horse training for one. Sorry, you go, Footy.
Yeah, I just want to get back to this race just quickly prior to talking about your upcoming future nuptials. Shaylo, I want to talk about this horse.
Yes.
One start for the O'Day Hoisted camp.
Gets a run now.
Yeah, gets a run.
Now
that's a good start.
That's a great start. I'm backing some emergencies, so it is a good start. That was at listed level over 1400 at the sunny coast. She put an absolute hole in them. ran the fastest last 6:42 of the race, off a strong gallop, produced a really big figure as well. Pride of life in Queensland, she's been thereabouts and run midfield in some proper Melbourne spring races. I love the O'Day Hoisted camp. I like the change in scenery. Fresh is best for her. It's clearly been the plan. Have to entertain this horse at $20 plus. So I'm going to play Shaylo each way in the Group 1 up there.
I see your case. She's not well weighted. So she's 102 rated, carrying 57 with the 2 kilos off for being a mare. But like the Inferno's 102 rated as well, but you've got, 10 horses above that are better weighted. Not well weighted, but you make a fair case. Fresh.
Can we make a little case for your old mate, the Inferno? Best run for quite some time, off a really hot tempo around Mornington. There's going to be a lot of speed injected here. 70s, 80s.
I've had a little something just in case.
Were you going to mention that before I brought this up?
Nah.
Keep that one in his pocket.
No, the form through that last start of Mornington hasn't been strong, so that's a concern. But it was a return of his old form. Blinkers came off last start. He was fantastic. He does get a dry track, which he needs now. It's proven he needs it. 31 days off 1,300 metres is a slight concern, but he gets a few things in his favour for sure, and he might end up a stupid price.
It's worse. 81 pops getting
and he brings different form. Like you couldn't back an $81 pop that's been lapped by some of these in the past. He brings completely different form. So
and at his best has shown he can be
run
up to these.
Yep.
Excellent discussion. All right, so that's how we're playing the Group 1 Kingsford Smith. I like it. A case of you and Giga Kick. We'll make sure we snap that one up for Twitter. That'll create.
No, unfortunately, I'm 3 back the fence because the result's already been shown.
Yes,
but that's just me thinking that he possibly could have with the right run.
No, I like that you had the courage to say that. I wouldn't have. Race number 9, the listed Helen Coghlan Stakes, fillies and mares, 1,200 metres. Najmati won it last year for the Snowdens, Exhilarates in 2021 for the Royal Blue. Fashional, Extremist, Enterprise Pom, they've all drawn out. They will look to settle handy. Self-Indulgent from Barrier 1 may kick up and hold a spot as well. How's the tempo look here, Tommy?
Yeah, you've nailed it again. Good speed.
Speed maps foot today.
Yeah, you're on fire.
Better watch out for your job, mate.
I know. You're on fire.
Thanks.
Map horse is Brookspire. So before I get to Brookspire, Sneaky 5 was really good last start, found the line. It was a fast run race, and she was a long way off him, but sprinted nicely, made up a good ground. She found the line 5.2 lengths faster than average there for the final 600 metres. No issue, 1,200 metres, draws to get a nice run. She's a chance. Hellfest comes through that same race, around similar splits. Slightly held up at stages, but not too bad, but meets Sneaky 5 4.5 kilos worse. You've got Extremist and Comrade Rosa, who also come through the race. They finished second and third. They meet Sneaky 5 2.5 kilos worse. So from that lead up, I would rather be with Sneaky 5, but I'm not overly bullish about that. I kind of looked away from that lead up. I'm heavily in the corner of Brookspire here. I think you're getting a decent price to find out. Extremely well off at the weights. She's got 55.5 kilos, set weights and penalties. She's a 96 handicap rater. She's the third highest handicap rated horse in the race with 55.5 kilos. So she obviously won the Magic Millions, doesn't get penalised for that. Well off the weights, good horse. She's McDonald's sticks with her. Nice trial, soft trial, drawn to get the perfect run of the race. The only concern, genuine firm track and Eagle Farm as I touch on. So she just ticks those two boxes. But at $4, $4.50 Betfair, I'm happy to back her, and she's one of my 5 best bets of the day. No, of course.
Don't joke. You are not joking. Don't joke about that. You are being serious there. You have cut it down to 1 now, but it was 5.
That was a joke.
She's going to be my best Sneaky 5. Followed her. She was down here in Victoria, so I followed her when she went up there. Her first up run was great, 1,000 metres. We're talking Prince of Boom and Rothfire that she ran behind. Made ground off them. Rothfire we've just made a case for in the Group 1. Second up, even better, at 1,100. She's third up now, 1,200. Back to Eagle Farm, drawn to get the right run. Listed race that Rosemont will want to have another black type race on her CV before she probably goes to the breeding barn. Jimmy Orman, he's leading the premiership overall in Australia for most winners. He's just in flying form, so he's a good get. And yeah, I'm going to make it my best. Simple as that.
Good. Best bets head to head. I will probably save Sneaky 5 because she's the one I want to be out in the lead from the lead up.
Yep.
So. Head to head, kind of.
I like it, sort of.
Huge call. And Jimmy Orman, I mean, I know it's J-Mac, but just Jimmy Orman, a bit stiff with Kovalika as well.
Yeah, there was a little story about that I think Chris sort of was apologising in a way, but said, he's got You've got to keep loyal to.
Soz, not soz.
Yeah, keep loyal
Sounds like
to
to me.
J-Mac and I think Nash was the other one that was mentioned. So yeah, a little bit stiff, but I think he'd know the process. Unfortunately,
Definitely.
I think he knew when he was just grateful to pick up the ride when it first went up there.
He still had a Group 1 ride.
And he could still knock it off.
Yeah.
He can still knock it off with the vows too.
Yeah,
So
true.
wouldn't that be bittersweet?
That would be good.
Hey, I got a Tommy 2 bet in the Helen Coghlan here. So first one I want to touch on.
I'm only allowed to do then.
Is Aureus.
I did mention I don't mind
Nick
Tommy
2 bet
bets.
doesn't sound near it.
No.
Footy 2 play.
Can't
Maybe,
be
I
your
don't
own.
know. Aureus Angel. A lightly raced 5-year-old mare for Chris Muntz. 2 from 2 track trip jockey combination. Second fastest last 200 of the meeting on both of those occasions. Expect her to be flashing late again. A mare in form that's well over the odds. We're talking $20 for both. For both of these runners. And the other's Hellfest. I know you touched on worse off at the weights, but I've just got a lot of time for this girl. She was a little tardy away last start from the wide draw. Tim Clark had to take his medicine. She was really getting into her work and was blocked for a run upon straightening. So picked up again, strong through the line, can be much better positioned here from 5 and can run a really big race. Both of those runners are at $20, so I'm happy to just play each of those in the last there at Eagle Farm, fellas.
Lovely.
Hey, before we head to Sandown, Tommy, we've had our back to schools and all that sort of stuff. I just want to quickly ask you about the Ashes, because the Ashes is coming up. I know you're a big cricket fan.
Reece isn't.
I love watching the Ashes. I'm very selective when I come to my cricket. Like, I'm glad they've addressed the Big Bash fixturing of 700 games in the summer and they've wound that back. I'm a big Ashes man, particularly when it's in England. I love, those late nights watching cricket. I'm all about it. So I guess I wanted to ask you, Tommy, what markets are on offer from Betfair perspective, and what are the benefits of betting with Betfair coming up to the Ashes?
Great question. So series winner, it's really tight actually. As I look now, it's $2.30 each of 2 for England and Australia. So it doesn't get any closer than that. Drawn series $7. Obviously last time Australia visited England it was 2-2. We saw Ben Stokes pull off a miraculous century and got him over the line late with the spinner there. But England $2.30, Australia $2.30 drawn series. We've got all the...
How many matches in this series, Tommy?
5, mates.
5.
So typical markets, we've got both teams, most runs, most wickets, leading wicket taker, series score, got it all. First test odds are up now. Who do you like, footy?
Oh, I have to back the Aussies. I could not, honestly, I'm a punter. I like to make money, but I could not sit there. I would rather shoulder arms to having a bet than back England if I thought they were going to win and make money.
Yeah.
So it's, I think it's just un-Australian, legitimately un-Australian if you did that. So.
We've got England short price favourites, or 2.36 for the first test, but the beauty of Betfair as well, the odds fluctuate, so you can actually, end of each day's play, you can wake up and trade out of your position as well, or you can call up, and it's brilliant, mate.
Green carding.
Green
I've
booking.
learnt.
Oh, sorry. Booking.
Green booking, yeah.
Speaking of green and green wickets, you can obviously bet with, in terms of runs markets as well and all that sort of stuff on Betfair. So
it's all on Betfair. You can back play, trade, do it all.
We've seen some pretty aggressive batting collapses in the past. So
we've got India in the World Test Championship before that too. That's only a couple of weeks away, so I can't wait for that. I actually think Australia have had a better preparation for the Ashes than England. We've seen a lot of their batsmen making runs over there in county. Labuschagne's going well, making runs. So I think we've had a pretty good preparation. The English bowlers, I think Australia will be looking to keep them out in the field as long as possible with the 2 old men bowling and fronting the attack. And then Bazball's going to be fascinating watch as well. They want to make runs quickly to keep the test shorter as well. So can't wait.
Have you got a cricket best bet?
No, I've got 4. No, not yet. We'll get to that. You won't be on the cricket show. Don't worry about that.
Oh, that's disappointing.
I was looking for a place then.
I knew it.
All good. Good insight there, and looking forward to the Ashes in a month?
Yeah, almost exactly a month. 16th, the first test.
Brilliant. Geez, Tommy's got it on his calendar on his fridge.
Counting down the days.
He's got one of those Christmas where you
advent calendar.
Yeah, advent calendar with the chocolates.
Let's get stuck into. We're just going to preview the feature race from Sandown quickly as well, Tommy. It's the listed Bel Esprit stakes. Extreme Warrior won the race last year. Sistar won it in 2021. It's a real dash. It's 1,000 metres. And let's talk about the map, because there's speed on speed here with Sartorial Splendour, Esther La Rocca, Pintoff, Starry Legend. They've all got it to burn. And then the world fancied Katsu, which I don't mind. A chicken Katsu will be
I love a chicken
quite
Katsu,
handy as well. In terms of track conditions as well, you might want to touch on those before you preview the race too, Tommy.
Reece, what do you reckon?
So we're going to have a bit of rain.
Yeah.
Well, firstly, track conditions.
Sorry,
we're going to have a bit of rain this afternoon, into the night, into the morning. I think they're predicting somewhere around 10 mil, so we could probably get 35. But it is Flemington, so... we're Sandown. I lie. Sorry, apologies. I'm going off a week early. I've got one in next week. I'm getting a bit excited. Guessing it's going to be in the soft range. I think it's currently soft 5, so I'm sort of thinking 6, 7. Yep. 7 probably the worst side, 6 on the day. It'd be great if we could just have a clear day. As long as you don't get rain on the day, you can be pretty happy with what you got. Stack of speed here, Esther La Rocca, Sartorial Splendour, Starry Legend, obviously Katsu won't be far away, Invincible Caviar won't be far away either, but I think sort of a Sartorial Splendour, the way he goes these days, they'll be probably leaving him. He's just, and nothing against Laura, who rode him on the weekend. She sort of just floated with him, which you should do. I think that's when he runs at his best, when you just sort of let him run, put a brake on them, and then hope for the best late. So a stack of speed. I'm going with Esther La Rocca because I think he'll come across from that wide draw and probably be outside one of those runs. He's jumped out really good. It took Cool and Gatta to beat him in a recent jump out. We know how well she goes. He flies fresh. He loves sting out of the ground. And you're getting like $12, $13, $14 for this horse. So I think he's the one that's well over the odds. And to be fair, what's not an overly strong listed race, let's be fair, there's a couple of horses here that wouldn't sort of shape up against some better quality stakes horses. And I'm also going to lay Katsu because I just feel like for the price you're getting around $1.80, I think the jump he's taking in grade, I mean, he beat Who Shot Susie 2 starts ago, and he beat South of Houston. Yes, don't get me wrong, won again, but in 3-year-old grade. I just think that's too short. That's way too short for me against these older season horses, and he's still doing things wrong. He's not the finished product. He can over-race, he wears earmuffs. I just think it's way too short to be going in there, and I'd much rather be each way Esther La Rocca.
Pretty good case. Tommy?
I've got Katsu on top. I agree with... I agree.
I could see that coming. I agree. Pretty good case, but he's wrong.
No, I agree with you about price. Too short for me. Awkward barrier. Geordie Childs will just lead. Okay. I think he has to be positive.
No doubt he'd be positive. Do you think there is the chance that there is this speed battle? Like Starry Legend's also a horse that doesn't settle well, and the times they have tried to settle him, he just fights. And then Sartorial's similar.
I think the track and the starting position lends itself to not being...
They'll just not undo each other and stay in their lanes.
Deep, for 1,000 metres, it doesn't really matter too much. So I like backing 3-year-olds on the way up at this time of year, and that's the way I've gone in a tricky race where there's no really good horses. Katsu's the one, and now's the time to back him. So he brings the best last start figures in the race. It probably says more about the race rather than his performance there, but he went at a moderate tempo, out-sprinted his rivals. As you said, the second horse came out and won really well. He's the horse on the up, and I've got him on top. I can see why Reece doesn't want to back him.
Sorry, Nick, what price would you need for you to step in, you think?
Oh, I'd take even.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you just wait and see.
I think you'll get that on Betfair. I think you'll get 210, 220. There might be a few people taking a 3-year-old on with an awkward gate.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, well, Katsu certainly fits the profile and the mould of this race. 7 of the past 10 winners have come at 54 kilos and have been progressing through. So that's a fair call. I just wanted to ask you, Tommy, about taunting. Like an interesting preparation for this Michael Hickmott runner here comes through a win at Oakbank, which is just a strange old track, and then no good during the Warrnambool Carnival on a bottomless deck. This looks like a horse that could really benefit off a strong speed up front and be flashing late. Do you give taunting a chance at... You're getting about $7 on the fair.
Yeah, I actually thought he might be more than that. I mean, he's coming off a win.
He's been well found in the market.
He's a horse stacked with ability that hasn't lived up to it, and the market's probably priced on that. But I'd want to see him longer. He ran 4th to Cumin and Magic Max.
Yeah, I just ask, because some of his some of his peak figures
good
stack
enough.
right up to winning this race.
That's why he's probably been disappointing and we haven't seen the best of him. I agree, he's the right type of horse I'd go looking for, but yeah, too short. I'd like to see him, and you don't know how he's come through that heavy 10, but I'd like to see him at $10, $12, which again you might get on Betfair.
Yeah, I think this race just reeks of danger, and I'm staying out.
Trappy little race.
I can't really identify any sort of value or anywhere where I want to get in there.
We haven't mentioned the girls' great progeny, Invincible Cavanagh. Any
well,
opinion
we
there?
did. We made mention.
Oh, did we? Oh.
Yeah.
You watched any back straight jump outs at Tynong?
No, not at Tynong. I'll leave that to my Melbourne man. Glenn Ingram.
Turn it up.
He's from Melbourne man. Tongue tie first time's interesting gear change for Invincible Caviar.
That is.
A deep race. Wouldn't be surprised if she win.
Okay.
Yep. Well, good preview. Like it. Before we get into, I guess, our bests, we'll do some other bets.
Can you not put an S on that, please?
Our other bet.
Far
Well, we've
out.
got an other bet segment.
Okay,
Reece. You missed this last week.
Yeah, well, I haven't been filled in by
because
this
you're
until I
marking
got here
boxes.
either.
So what happened? What happened here, Reece, last week is we went through some other bets from around the grounds that we're interested in getting involved in.
New segment, thanks.
Yes, it is a new segment. Tommy, you've always got a couple, and you're the Sydney man. So what do you like in Sydney?
I do. Yeah, Randwick's interesting. How's this tomorrow? I think it's tomorrow. 0 to 7 mils forecast. So we could end up with 0 and it be a good 4, or we could get 28 and end up with a heavy 10.
0 to 7, I love that. It couldn't even be 2 to 7. They've left it at 0.
Yeah.
So there's a chance we'll get no rain.
I know.
It's a good job, that.
Yeah, I'd love to know what it paid.
Not even that, just the KPIs involved.
They could get 25. And
Yeah.
do you reckon they're getting held accountable? Get the
Clearly not.
Randwick race 1, number 5, Vomo Island is a bet for me. Hopefully start the day off well. I reckon Randwick, they'll be getting off fence a little bit, railing the true, especially if it is a soft track. Vomo Island maps perfectly across the line with a horse last start who went on and won at Rose Hill very well, Celestial Legend, on Saturday. So it's the right form. Had a trial on May 15, worked home like the 1400 metres would suit him perfectly. I think he will win the first race, 1, number 5.
Speaking of Vomo Island, just quickly, I actually went on my honeymoon to Vomo Island off Fiji.
Yes.
Beautiful
This thing's a
spot.
certainty
Yeah,
now.
That's where Mick Kent Jr. is right now,
Yeah,
probably.
it's a beautiful spot.
He spoke to Nick before he left to get the pointers on where to go.
Mate, seriously, a great spot. So,
Correct.
sorry, mate. That's just,
Great segue.
Happy
Great story, mate. I hope the
Thank you,
viewers
mate.
enjoyed that.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Lock it in.
If they've lasted this
I
far.
highly recommend it. Just enter code footy25.
This is a great segment.
My other bet, sorry.
Yes, thank
Other
you.
bet is race 7 at Randwick, number 14, I Earn a Merc. I put him in the back book in 2 recent jump outs. Absolutely enormous. Found the line very, very well. He's drawn well. Interestingly, he's got back in his 2 trials. Maps has been closer in all his runs, but he got back in his trials. But drawn well. I don't think he'll be far away. Has good speed engaged. He's shown the speed to lead in the past if Rachel King wants to do that. I hope they don't. I hope they can just settle in behind the speed. 2 trials, I said, have been enormous. 3-year-old taking on the older horses. I said now's the time. I want to look for those type of horses. Huge amount of upside, more than any other horse in the race. He's lightly raced and he's gelded this campaign. Looks a bet for me, race 7, number 14, I Own a Merc.
There's a lot of spruik names in this race.
It's a good race, actually.
But I'm not even talking about the race itself because I haven't done it, but it's I Own a Merc, $1 billion baby, never second. You've got
spruik names.
Miss Dior, Time for Victory. Turn it up.
Yeah. I could lay Kin.
Never second. That is stopping your horse, isn't it?
Never second. Yeah, I know. You could lay Kin.
Yeah, I think Kin's probably too short. And I'd rather be with the second favourite, I Own a Merc. Yep.
Who's the stable of I Own a Merc?
Bjorn Baker.
Okay, interesting.
Rachel King on board. At the moment, I don't like backing Bjorn Baker horses first up. A lot of them are trialling the house down, but they are, the way that they trial has been front running, leading types, and they've flopped a little bit fresh. This horse has been different when it's getting back, which I really like.
Yep. I've got just one other bet from around the ground before we get into our bests. It's Sandown race number 8, and it's Green Fly. So I love the setup here for Green Fly. Very good on return at Flemington. Ran the second fastest last 200 of the meeting, over 1,400 metres. Out to the mile here is 3 from 3 second up. Braden Starr's the favourite in the race, who I was also really keeping an eye on where he'd land next up. But Barrier 3 for a horse likely to be back amongst runners, Ollie on board, isn't the setup that I want.
Is that a negative, Ollie, on board?
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
Oh,
I don't.
okay.
Not.
I'll pay that.
I'll be watching this race. Nice.
So
I'll pay
Green
that.
Fly, you're getting $6.50 on the fair, drawn wide. Will be getting to the best part of the track and rattling late, I think.
Well, I'd love to have another bet, but I didn't know about this segment.
Well,
so
go on. What do you got?
I don't. All I got now is my best bet.
Well, there was one other I wanted to mention, and that's at Pakenham tonight.
Ah, yeah, fair
Pakenham
enough.
tonight. Reece
enough.
and I have a runner tonight, Tommy in Pakenham, and I think is a great chance. And I don't often tip into my own horses on any.
Yeah,
types
I
of
think
show.
it's a good chance.
I
This
think
has
it's a
made me
very
nervous
good,
now.
I
Do you
think it's a
think it's a
very
good
good
chance?
chance.
I think it's a good chance, and the more rain that comes, the better.
And there's a big
she's
downpour about
yeah.
3 o'clock today. The Reece bun over here's been all over it, and we're getting
If anyone,
We're getting double figure odds about Win Tilly, so that's Pakenham race 4, number 11, Win Tilly
I like
tonight.
that.
If you're
That's
listening,
why you tune in at 6 o'clock. when you
exactly.
go
Exactly,
live.
Listen,
that's right.
If
If
you're
you
watching
don't-
live,
you have to
layback,
watch live, otherwise you miss out on these juicy
Better win
each
now.
way plays, these 1x3 bets.
Hey, before we get
Good luck with that, Goss.
Thank
Thanks,
you. Before we do just get into our wrap and our best backs and lays for the weekend, I just wanted to ask you about the Betfair Greyhound ratings model, Tommy.
Yes, so I'm glad you've asked. We've got a ratings model on, it's been going for 3 weeks. So if you go onto the Betfair app, download the app if you haven't got it. You toggle on the ratings. It's been fantastic. I went and had a look at the results of the ratings model. So it's rated prices for every greyhound race. We've seen some huge results. 19 dogs in 2022 were $3 or less that won and they paid over $20 Betfair starting price.
Wow.
So we saw 2 dogs at odds on actually pay triple figures.
Joking.
And won. So that's in 2022. So it's worth having a look at.
Wait.
Yeah.
I know what I'm doing when I get in the car.
Put it on, have a play, and obviously you've got both sides of the bet too. If we rate something tens and it's $3, you can lay it. So check it out. It's just a bit of fun.
Do you guys ever get involved with the hounds?
I don't
do.
mind the dish lickers, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll get involved there. I think I like getting involved there because I'm like playing roulette. I feel like greyhound's a bit like roulette. Like there's a good dog in it, but it could easily just get rolled because it's just missed a kick and gets knocked down.
It's
so
a good thrill if you just want to mug recreational punt for a bit of fun. Lay some short
Correct.
price greyhounds. It's always a bit of fun.
I love that I've got something to go to now and something to go
that's
off.
good.
have a
isn't
look
it?
at the ratings.
I'm also operating with some real sickos here, but that's great.
I also own.
It took this for you to work that
I
out.
have owned a couple of greyhounds as well. It's good fun.
Yes, excellent. Hey, best bets, best backs and lays for the weekend. We might tick over just with both of them as we go around. Tommy, best back, best lay.
Best bets, Randwick race 7, number 14, I own a Merc. I think you're getting a good price there, $4. I don't want to mention any other runner. I won't even mention a lay bet because I'm scared of Reece.
Well, this is good. I can finally pencil in one and just
Watch my
have full
second best
confidence.
win and I won't even mention it.
Yep.
Well, you can't have a second best.
No,
You haven't said it.
I'll text you. The problem is, my best bets might change come Saturday.
Well,
so
let
you
me know.
text me on Saturday.
Yeah, let me know.
Flexible. Reece, your best bet?
Eagle Farm race 9, number 4, Sneaky 5. Best each way bet. You cannot miss with her each way. I think she's a terrific top 3 chance. And I think she's sort of $9, maybe even $10. So can't go wrong there. And then best lays Flemington race number 6, number 7, Cat Zoo. Real dangerous
Sandown.
price for mine.
Sandown.
Sorry, what did I say, Flemington?
Yeah, you got,
I've
got
had
it
it
on your
stuck.
mind.
Yeah, I don't know why. Sorry about that. But yeah, Sandown. Sorry, Sandown, Cat Zoo. Not at that price for me.
It certainly won't be winning at Flemington. Murray Bridge.
Well, there you go. Well, I'm right then. It won't be winning at Flemington.
Royal Murray Bridge, race 5, Clabell. So finds a much easier race here. Last start pushed forward from Widegate, Group 2 Tobin Bronze, and finished 2.5 lengths off Royal Merchant. And She Dances crossed the line to the likes of Wee Nessie and Shuffle Dancer. What price would they be here in a benchmark 70 at Murray Bridge on a Saturday? Will push forward again. Fitness Edge, 1 from 1 track and distance, $4.55. Good bet. Clabell is my best of the weekend. Today's been fun, fellas. A little bit loose. We haven't had our producer here to sort of straighten us out a little bit today.
I think it's because I didn't get a latte.
Yes, I think that is the reason. Tommy, thank you for being late. All the best on the weekend with your bets. Reece, all the best, and we'll be messaging tonight for Win
Good
Tilly.
luck tonight, guys.
Yeah,
Thank you,
and
mate.
punters, all the best on the weekend. Gamble responsibly, and we'll be back next week on Layback with Betfair.
Imagine what you could be buying instead. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.